But turn now to an important story to tell, one that's very personal to our friend Ryan Clark. Ryan's son Jordan and two of his Arizona State football teammates say they were called a racial slur at a Whataburger near campus. Now, due to the pandemic, this is what happened. The drive-thru was the only way to order. Jordan Clark says they asked a woman driving her car if they could give her money to buy food for them. She said no because she was in a hurry. Another customer agreed to buy it for them. But while they waited for their food, Clark says, quote, the woman that we asked initially eventually got to the window and proceeded to roll down the window to ask what our problem was. We were sitting on the wall. She then filed a complaint with the manager that we harassed her and he comped her meal. She then turned to us and said in a vindicated voice, she said, thanks for the free food, N-word. Now, Clark goes on to say the store manager gave her the food. She began to drive off while saying bye, N-word. The manager was unfazed. He was quick to condemn us and tell us we were wrong, quick to threaten us and say he'd call the police. Now, Whataburger has released a statement saying, quote, we do not tolerate racism and we're horrified to hear how these customers were treated by another customer. We are reinforcing training with our employees on how this incident was handled and apologize to the players and their families for this terrible experience. Ryan Clark is back with us. Ryan, to see this happen to your son, you know, I don't even want to ask a question. You're a member of our family here. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, I think initially the first thing is, you know, as a black man and the father of a black young man, I'm happy he's alive, period. Like that was my first thought. And then that immediately turned to anger. And what's crazy is I wasn't mad at the young lady or the woman. I wasn't mad at the manager. I was mad at myself. I was mad with Jordan. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's the right emotion to have, but nothing pisses me off more than being scared. And even though I knew the moment was over, I was still in that moment as his dad. I was still picturing, as I'm reading it, I'm still picturing what's going on. And I'm playing out other scenarios in my mind. I'm playing out a scenario of if this woman would have had a weapon and she could easily say that these three young black men were threatening her. One of Jordan's friends is a tight end. He's extremely tall. He's a thicker kid. And I believe that if that woman pulls a gun on those young men and if that woman pulls the trigger, I believe that she's never punished. I believe that justice is never served. And even if justice is served, it's not enough to bring my son back. But this isn't just a fear for me every day. This has been a fear for black people forever. My father called me to check on me last night. He obviously called Jordan the day before. And there's a story my dad has been telling around me forever. And we actually laughed at it. And it takes on new meaning for me. When in 1977, my father was at a fast food restaurant with his girlfriend. His girlfriend at the time, and I know we're trying to get rid of colorism, was a fairer skinned woman, but she was black. But to the white guys in there, she was a white girl. And so they start harassing him and they're using racial slurs and calling him an N-word. And so they attempt to jump my father. And so he jumps behind the counter and he's looking for something to protect himself with, but it's a restaurant. All they had was plastic utensils. And we would laugh about that story. But he said, I never thought that this many years later, my grandson would be experiencing the same racism that I did. And so where we are in a point to where people are starting to listen, where people are starting to understand who didn't understand before, I believe that the true racists, the people with true hate in their heart, are starting to feel a little bit of the power that they felt over the last few years slip away. So they're going to double down on their racism. They're going to double down on their hate. They're going to double down on their evil. And that's what this woman did. And at the end of Jordan's statement, he kind of lists some of the things that he thought about himself and said, to this woman, I was none of those things. His entire life, he has grown up as my son. And it was my job to put him in better situations than my parents could put me. So he grew up in very affluent areas. He went to schools that were predominantly white because those were the schools that I felt could give him the best opportunity to succeed. But he was always treated as Ryan Clark's son. And he's faced racism and he's heard the word, but it never affected him in this way. And I felt like I didn't prepare him for this situation enough to know as a black man, you can't walk up to cars. You can't wave down cars with white people in it because your life is not of value to all of them. And so I'm blessed that my child is still here. If something would have happened to him, it would have broke me. And so for me, I got to do a better job of educating him, and I got to protect him because I wouldn't know how to live if he wouldn't have made it out. And so thank you for everybody that reached out to me. And I know it's getting better, but it's not better yet, and better for everybody. And we just got to keep staying together, man, and just doing what we can.
Ryan, we are with you, man. We are with you. I thank you for that. I know that was hard. Making me think about my life and my kids, too. They are all we have, our children. Ryan Clark, thank you.